Good morning. Welcome to FAC Live. It's a First Atlantic commerce show that covers all things e-commerce in the Caribbean. We have guests across the island as well as the globe because data it has no location. We need to get information as far and wide as possible. And these individuals have agreed to share insight into the digital world we have been forced to grow accustomed to do. Today I'm excited about our guest because marketing is where I live and breathe. I call myself a digital native, and Giuliana has agreed to have a discussion around modern marketing in the Caribbean. She is the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Marketing Officer at Microsoft Caribbean, and she's also the leader at the Women at Microsoft for Latin American region. Before we start talking shop, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, and if you are watching this on the replay channel, give us a comment below. Maybe give us some insight into marketing that you would like to share, a question you'd like to ask, and we'll make sure and follow up on the replay side. So let's have our guest in, and obviously we are joined by Christopher Burns, who is the CEO at First Atlantic Commerce as well. So let's start with Giuliana for her to share with us, where exactly are you right now?
No, and thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you for the invitation, Chris and Pauline. I'm super excited to be here today on a topic that's not only about my professional journey, but a passion that I have, that's marketing. So my name is Giuliana Figueiredo. I'm originally from Brazil, and I am broadcasting from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Great. And for Chris, I want you to share with our audience today why you think, because I'm just going to get into it. We only have an hour, and I feel like we all know where Chris is from. And if you don't know, slide into his LinkedIn profile and you'll see, and you'll share his story as well. When it comes to marketing, it is extremely important for any business. But when it comes to e-commerce, it is, it's like top 2 in terms of things you need to make sure that you have access to and information on. And in our previous sessions with FAC Live, we discuss the sort of gap within the Caribbean on what it means to market online. Can you share with the audience who may have missed that session why it is important to understand digital marketing and e-commerce, and where's the synergy there?
Yeah, sure. Again, good morning to everybody. For us, the real driver here is now that we've addressed a lot of the issues in terms of connectivity for payments for websites right across the Caribbean and Central America. So we have, a big stable of products now that are available to enable, things like Shopify or Magento or OpenCart, for example. So we've addressed a lot of those issues in terms of availability for websites and payments. But what we've found is that a lot of companies and individuals have almost failed to consider what's next in terms of that business. So it's good. Okay, great. We have a website. It's fully functional. It looks good. We have payment functionality within it. Okay, now where are the customers? And really that becomes through the marketing and awareness of the organization. I know that sounds obvious, but I think sometimes there is a real gap in knowledge in terms of how, once you put a business online, how do you drive those customers there? What tools do you need to use to get them there? And, especially when you're dealing with a business that is only online, there isn't a brick and mortar presence. So there isn't any foot traffic that's going to walk by your business and see that and sort of come into the store and have a look around, and then you get the word of mouth. You need to really make sure that you understand what tools are available to you and what is most effective for driving traffic for the products and services that you sell. So that is really what today's session is about, I think, in terms of, okay, what do we use? How do we use it? Why do we use it? And when do we use it?
Great. Good morning, Jose. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I'm trying my best to not massacre anybody's name today. All right, so we have a lot of people joining us now. They just got a notification. If you're just joining us, we're talking about modern marketing. And with modern marketing, we have the term MarTech, right? And for a lot of people, they're like, what does that even mean? Because you have this new learning curve of e-commerce, trying to learn what exactly you need to do in order to connect with your customers, payment gateway system, all these different things. So, Giuliana, can you share with us what exactly is MarTech? Because it can become a little overwhelming in this day of information.
No, for sure. And potentially I will go one step back and I will start talking about what is modern marketing, because then I think MarTech, in the sense of technology being the silver lining that connects all this modern marketing ambition, it starts to make more sense. So I will connect with something that Chris said, right? That it's all about how we go after the customer. So let's start with this first thought. One of the main things that I would say have changed with the concept of modern marketing is that if in the past we were talking about doing digital marketing, now we are talking about doing marketing in a digital world. And when you think about doing it in a digital world, the main concept that goes behind what modern marketing is about, it's you putting the customer at the center. And this sounds obvious, and I think Chris was just saying that, right? I mean, we are talking about going after the customer. This seems so obvious, but it's not, because when you are talking in a digital world, this customer now is much more empowered. It's much more criterious. It's much more looking for real relevancy on the way that he's connecting with any engagement, any company, any product, or any offer that you have there. And he's on his own terms. So when you put that at center, there are three things that I think, basically define the modern marketing approach. First and foremost, it's the respect to the customer. So it's the understanding that now everything is on his own terms and not your terms, your company terms. Remember that that customer journey that everyone learned on marketing, right? Awareness, considerations, conversion, and then afterwards loyalty. Now there is no logical that we define on the steps. I mean, I can get to know your brand today and get so engaged that I go directly to a transaction, right? If you give me enough information and if you give me the right engagement at the time to do that big leap, or I can stay forever in the consideration and be navigating paths that were parallel before, because now they make sense in the kind of expectation that I do have. So putting, the relevance in the customer and understanding that now everything is on their own terms should, light a bulb in a marketeer to think how I can be much more holistic in everything that I'm approaching. Then you go to the second one, that now, it's all about not knowing that's on their own terms, but how you become relevant to him. And then it's about how much you know about your customer, how much you are able to connect the dots on everything that you are executing, how you are able to do personalization, clusters approach, geo-relevance on the message that you are bringing there. So if you are marketing, it's flexible enough on that sense. It's what we are considered part of the really modern marketing. And then the last part that, really makes part of the modern marketing approach is the capability of integration, the seamless of offline and online and everything together. And then comes MarTech. Because for that to happen, the thing that has to be talking and connecting all at once, it's data, right? So it's the capability to be able to acquire data, manage data, and integrate data throughout the way. So MarTech it's just the capability that you are using technology to be able to identify your customer, engage with him, better serve him, and keep connected with him.
I like the part where you spoke about customer journey, because that has shifted so much with the lockdown. This idea of getting into your car, driving into a specific space is no longer, I mean, it's an option, but it's one that's inconvenient. And when it comes to marketing the old school way, as based on my experience, what I've seen is we have this persona. We create this persona of what the person looks like and what the person does. And I think it's such a old school approach that it just needs to be burnt to the ground. And we just need to look at the data because the customer is literally telling you what they want. And I know with what's been happening with the lockdown, Chris, you would have seen this sort of vast interest into First Atlantic commerce and what is a payment gateway. What is sort of the biggest misconception on what it means to come online and build your e-commerce website?
I think it's, for the region for me, and you're right, it has changed dramatically, like even just from a marketing perspective, like, you mentioned getting in your car and driving somewhere. So, historically radio has been a great way to advertise, but now people aren't in their cars, for, an hour or two a day. So, you immediately have to rethink that, is it worth me spending advertising money on radio? Because, when I'm not in the car, I don't listen to radio. It's just, especially local radio. So, but going back to your question about misconceptions, the issue, that we're always trying to, and the myth that we're trying to debunk is that this has to be complicated and expensive, and that you have to have access to American-made products to be able to get your business online and take payments online. So, as that has been, personally a mission of mine to debunk that for the last 17 years, as I've been working in the Caribbean and traveling through the Caribbean and working with, literally thousands of companies over that time. So, we have all the products to be able to get your business online within the region. So, we want to get past that notion of, oh, we don't have access to PayPal, we don't have access to Stripe, so we can't do this. Well, that's actually just not the case within the region. So, there are multiple banks that accept e-commerce clients. They are hyper focused on that right now and trying to make that as easy as possible, given the pandemic over the last 12 to 16 months. There are companies like ours that have been working in the region for a long time that provide payment gateway services. There are a lot of very skilled software developers within the region, and that is becoming increasingly the case. There are a lot of new businesses, new ideas, new tech that's coming out of the region that's enabling it. If you look at companies like WePay, for example, we power the payments portion of that. But they have been very creative in enabling businesses to be able to get online easier. And then, there are lots of plugins for a lot of the well-known shopping carts now. As I mentioned earlier, companies like Shopify or WooCommerce or Magento or 3D Cart, there's access to all of those now within the region. And then logistics. There's access to products that have, like Figaro, for example, that have, DHL baked in to into the overall product. So, all those elements that we've been thinking about, that people may think that aren't available to them are. And we encourage people to come and talk to us, to come and talk to you, to come and talk to the banks, and we'll guide them through that because we know there's a path to do it. And, a lot of the historical excuses not to do it are just not there anymore.
So you spoke about the idea of global is always better, right? So we have this idea, and I fall into a trap as well because I think internationally we understand those stories better than our own. And you could see the data, we are seeing this expansion of people using Skybox, and being able to deliver things through Amazon. So the customer is using e-commerce facilities. Yeah. So we're going to go on a quick break because I want Giuliana to rummage on this question is, what can we learn? First of all, is it too late for us to grab hold of that Amazon money because it is going out there? And second of all, what can we learn from it? Because a lot of businesses are late to the idea of marketplace and, getting access e-commerce through their business. So because that information is there, is it too late? What can we learn? So we're going to come back and we're going to have Giuliana answer that question. Welcome back to FAC Live, and we're here having a discussion around modern marketing, which some people call MarTech, which we don't want to confuse you. We're really having a conversation around marketing in the Caribbean. And I asked the question around the marketplace, Amazon being as popular as it is, and businesses in the Caribbean trying to grab whole piece of the e-commerce pie. So give us some insight, Giuliana.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. I am of the principle that's never too late, but that's not an excuse for people to avoid being too early, let's say. I think on a digital world that we are living in, I think the pandemic has shown us that it's better done sometimes than perfect. And then the beautiful thing about digital is that you find a way to keep improving, adjusting, adequating, and better responding to things, right? So potentially I would put in the marketing perspective, I would put the question in another word. It would be like, for everyone, can you really thrive on your business without an e-commerce strategy? I don't think there is any business, and I'm not talking about retailers. I don't think there is any business, even services only businesses, that are gonna be able to thrive, grow, and really find a way to keep evolving to better address this digital customer, because we are all again in a digital world that do not invest on strong online presence, strong e-commerce or customer connection platform and marketplaces. So that would be my first assessment. Second would be that, and I love that Chris was sharing some of the market solutions or shortcuts, right? That people find for not having potentially, access to some global solutions or global platforms. My second biggest learning is that there is no limit for the human ingenuity. I mean, we find a way to really get things done in the ways that better serve us. So I feel that my invitation to the audience is, are you looking to partners? Are you talking, to ecosystems that help you understand potentially solutions, getaways, or let's say little programs that you could put in place to really overcome and address a customer barrier. Because let me tell you, once you start doing that, more market presence relevance becomes obvious, and then the players comes, the solution comes, and the whole revolution take place. And then my third insight is that if there is no way for you to thrive any business if you're not digital first, I think that we learned that through pain, right? In this last year, and it's here to stay. Second, you don't have to wait for global things. Of course, the global, the best, the market leaders, they set a lot of things in stone and velocity on the market. But I think this is the beauty of technology. There is way to find solutions, shortcuts, alliances, and programs to address these needs. The third would be, if your question was about it's already too late, I would just give the urgency that any day that you lose on having this digital first strategy, e-commerce wise, customer acquisition wise, you are losing data. And data is the new currency for not only the business today, but for your ability to improve, to compete, to identify potential growth levers for your business, and of course, to do much more optimized marketing, at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, that's what we are looking for.
I like what you said about losing out because, we rely so much on social media platforms in the Caribbean. We forget that we are able to actually create our own ecosystem that will allow us to drive data and make business decisions. Things like building out an email database, that type of information is invaluable. And speaking of ecosystems, I want to ask Chris about partnerships, right? Because if someone's coming into this space, it can, let's be honest, it can be overwhelming, It can be something that all these different words, and a lot of people are changing the goalposts when it comes to marketing and data. And, I looked at Google Trends to find out what people are in Trinidad and Tobago searching for, and they're actually not searching for the word e-commerce, they're searching for online shopping. So they're trying to figure out how to get their business online for that. With that said, who are the persons within the FAC ecosystem that a small business owner could say, yes, I can rely on this. These are the steps that I need to take to get my business online?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a great question because we have built our business on the strength of our partnerships. So we're a smaller company, and we don't have ginormous sales teams, for example, based in each particular country that we operate in. We operate in 32 different countries around the world, and we do that through what we call a channel model. So our bank partners are very instrumental in terms of what we do and how we grow our business. And so we enable them to offer, cutting edge e-commerce payment solutions, and we partner with them to help market those services out into the general Caribbean marketplace, or Central America for that matter. And then we have strong partnerships with people in the technical space, whether it's website developers, shopping carts, plugin developers, and we have made sure that through that partnership, through these strategic partnerships, that we are working with them to sort of educate exactly what we do and how we do it. And then we have a trusted bank of developers that we would recommend, for example. So if somebody came to say, look, I want to build a website, or I have a website and I just don't know how to integrate that into the FAC gateway. So we have a stable of partners that we would recommend, in particular countries or region wide. As now those types of services can be deployed from anywhere, really. But then you have to take into the cultural aspects of it as well. So, do we want to be, partnering with a company, in, let's say, India or Vietnam or China or Japan, to be able to deliver services specifically for the Caribbean marketplace? The answer is probably not, in terms of what we want to do. You want people to feel comfortable and have some familiarity with the people that they're working with. And that takes me back to, my first job when I graduated. And I was working for an IT headhunting company that was setting up US software startups in Europe. And, the companies we were working with had quickly realized that, trying to impose the US way of selling and structuring their organizations into mainland Europe was not working. So they were saying, okay, we were retained to build out European companies to help sell that properly. And that has stuck with me, many, many years later, is that, we don't want to impose, our way of doing something onto another country or region. We want to make sure that they're partnering with the right people domestically. And, within the Caribbean and Central America, there are some really, really strong companies that are involved in the e-commerce space that people can reach out to. So, if you don't know who that is locally, come and talk to us and we'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah, as someone who have been in sort of on both sides, as an employee, as an employer, it is interesting to see a lot of companies try to instill sort of a copy and paste mentality into the Caribbean, because we are, as small as we are such a diverse group of individuals, and we're literally 30 minutes away and we sound different, So those things are so important to understand from a business perspective, a cultural perspective, and to understand your audience. And when it comes to building that partnership, I want to talk about content, and what that means for your business, because I find that there's this huge gap of content creation in the Caribbean that I want Giuliana, to share with us with data, because I want somebody else to see it, why it's important for your business, first and foremost, to build out content within your strategy, as well as include partnerships. And what does that look like for your business?
No, definitely. And I will actually split this in two, because I don't want to miss something that Chris mentioned about the investment on the local ecosystem, right? To be able to really bring talent and skills from everywhere, but also ensuring that we have local relevance. And I will start by that, because for us as well, the way of Microsoft doing business, that's 100% leveraged through the partners ecosystem. And we invest on partners that are relevant in the geos where we do business. So in this case, in Caribbean, is super critical. Because at the end of the day, there is a lot of learnings that happen from those that understand the cultural differences, understand the limitations or the hurdles or the opportunities better than only, optimizing global scales. That brings so much insights then later on for marketing content, for product development, for services enhancement that really makes a difference. So I just didn't want to miss that one, because I feel that is and I love to see that from FAC and from us. That's a strong way of delivering to make relevant and meaningful business opportunities and presence in the geo. In terms of content, I think was one of my main learnings, for example, Pauline, on the last year about Caribbean, right? So let me give an example. The whole pandemic happens, we are going fully digital, and then we start noticing something based on data and the ability to have this connected through technology that we didn't notice before. That the velocity of the marketing engagement on Caribbean was growing at a much faster pace, for example, from people connecting on global content versus local content in the first moment, okay? And then I noticed why. Let me stop and take a look on that. And there was almost like 3 times higher engagement for Caribbean versus the rest of Latin America in global content. It is not only because of language, it's because of potentially, knowledge, maturity, case reference, where they are looking for to get inspiration, and so on. And that has helped us, for example, to notice that a lot of efforts that I was putting on duplicating or replicating content from the local Caribbean team, I could put as a second level, much deeper conversation after they engage in the global content from US, for example, right? That for us was a big insight, because that was able to divert to me so much more money into specific skilling efforts, business case development from local industries that I was seeing a higher index and a higher interest. For example, creating, teams or remote working, as we call that, readiness squad, to really support all the demand that we're getting in Caribbean, and much more dedicated, that I couldn't do before if I just didn't stop and looked something that was much more particular here than in other geos. The second one would be connecting back to the alliances and partnerships. It's very hard sometimes to pinpoint or talk about market opportunity in Caribbean, right? Because with the data that we have available. So for me, the second tip, and to stop here, would be, how much are you, when you're thinking about content, not only developing yourself, but looking for partners, alliances, and experts that can together create a much stronger narrative.
Yes, for somebody who's been in this space and has minimal resources, I can attest that is extremely important when you're trying to, work multiple things at the same time. So you're going to go on a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to answer Dea's question about offering e-commerce services to local and international clients through First Atlantic. Spoiler alert, yes, but I'm going to let Chris elaborate on that. So we'll be right back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time of day you decide to watch this. Welcome to FAC Live. We're here discussing modern marketing in the Caribbean. And we have a question from Dia, and he's asking, are you saying that as a Caribbean company, I can offer e-commerce services to local and international clients through First Atlantic Commerce? Chris, you want to take that question?
Sure, thanks. And yes, that's the short answer. We can absolutely do that. So it really, what we would want to understand a little bit more is, what type of business, what country, who do you want to sell to? Is this, is this something that you want to sell domestically? Is this something that you want to sell internationally? And the answer is still yes. If it's either or of those, we can certainly help with that. So, what we are. If we look at our customer base, and we have thousands of customers within the platform now, they range dramatically. We have sole traders that are selling one or two products. We have people in the service industry, electricians, plumbers that really just want to be able to take payments online, but they don't want a particularly full-blown, all singing, all dancing e-commerce website. So we have solutions where you can email invoices with an electronic payment button in it. You can put these payment buttons into WhatsApp and send them to somebody, and it will effectively throw up a payment page where you can enter card details, and it will update the system that invoice has been paid. And then we have much larger companies, right through the spectrum. We work with pretty much all the telecommunications and sort of cable providers within the Caribbean. We work with people like Sandals, PriceSmart. So, it really ranges in terms of what you're looking to do. Whether you're a smaller company that wants to sell domestically, or, you're a restaurant that wants to do delivery, or you're a supermarket that wants to do sort of click and collect or delivery. We can support all of that through our interface. And then if you are, selling globally, we have sophisticated products like Count that's built into our platform, which is an anti-fraud platform where you can set up literally thousands of rules if you wanted to, in terms of being able to secure the transactions that you're accepting from around the world. And as you broaden your acceptance base, you really want to be able to secure that in a different manner than if you're selling one or two products domestically. So yes, absolutely, we can support all of that, and please come to the contact us section on our website, and we'll be more than happy to help you with it.
Actually, you don't even have to go that far. Just go up into the bio from LinkedIn, because I know Dia is watching this from LinkedIn, and click the bio, and it'll take you directly to the website. You sign up there, and not only do you get information and follow up from First Atlantic Commerce, we also have regular blogs that share insight into the banks and how you need to set up your merchant account, because you actually have to start there as well. Make sure you have the right account before following through, right? When it comes to the modern marketing, right? Nobody else is as in front of our minds as Amazon, right? And a lot of people think that Amazon is an e-commerce company, but it's actually an infrastructure company, because it's over the years, bought over a lot of companies like Whole Foods, for instance, and been able to basically slide it into an infrastructure that already exists. So when it comes to the global space, which you mentioned earlier, Giuliana, about what you saw with the information, I want for you to share insight into opportunities, because we've seen this influx of marketplaces within the Caribbean, and people are saying, okay, come bring your product here and we'll sell it on your behalf. But what other opportunities are there in the Caribbean based on your understanding and the data you have access to? Where can people go to be able to say, okay, let me get a piece of this pie?
Yeah, no, I think first and foremost, there is opportunity everywhere. So there is opportunity in every single industry. I would say the first question would be, are you digitally present? And digitally present in a way that you are being able to capture information from your customer? Or are you digitally present in, if it's not on a business infrastructure, when you are doing marketing in a way that you are inviting your customer to share their information with you so you can better serve him throughout time. So that would be the first, are you investing in data acquisition? And usually I say that very, very carefully, at least in Microsoft for us, the whole ethic behind privacy, customer control of his data, and security is critical. And I would suggest everyone to really invest heavily in being sure that you protect your brand reputation, your business reputation, by really being careful on the most valuable thing that your customer give you, that's his data, right? So first is, are you acquiring that data through your partnerships? So if you're doing an event through partnerships, are you offering follow-up events, gated material that are super relevant and people should subscribe to receive it? And after they do, how you better serve this person throughout time. Chris mentioned something, or I think, sorry, it was you, Pauline, about the social channels, right? I mean, that we connect so much more with brands, both as a consumer as well, as when we are searching for to brands or to business through their social channels. Are you actively engaging with customers there? Are you getting insights on what they are searching, what they are looking in your website? Are you monetizing or improving your information, our product, based on the support, sales support insights that you get, from your sales reps or from your partners? So how you are really leveraging that information on your social channels. And then the last one that I would say is that if you are acquiring data from several fronts, through our business, and if you have a online experience, a marketplace or e-commerce, even better, because then the data go to the transactional level, right? But if you are acquiring that data, then comes my question: are you looking for insights, actionable insights on that data to take decisions? And that's where my last thought about the opportunity is going to lie, because I would say marketeers, especially, but as well business leaders, but marketeers, because of the quality of data that we used to have in the past, we get a lot of data. Not all the time we are looking for the right insight. So I would say that the opportunities, once you get a plan or get a view on how you are acquiring data, managing data, and so on, is, are you creating the right business understanding to look to the right information on the insights? People usually say that consumers or customers are always ready to share their opinion. Business not always wants to hear. So I think the beautiful thing about the opportunity on modern marketing, but more than that, think again on this digital customer, digital business, this digital environment that you can really get data from everywhere, is, are you being honest on seeing this data and looking for the right business insight that's given to you on what's working, where potentially you're losing your competitive edge, where maybe you are not translating into business conversions to your audience? Because if you are, the opportunity that brings back to the business to create a feedback loop and think where to keep investing or where to test things, it's much more valuable.
I could say that as somebody who's been in business for over a decade, it is definitely a cultural change, because the idea of looking at data first and foremost is a huge shift in what people are accustomed to. And, I remember having conversations around data with people from clients across the Caribbean, and they don't understand it, and they are looking at it from a self-reflection. This is what I like. This is what I want to see, and not necessarily this is what the customer is telling you that they like, and this is what they want to see. And then I get, well, you're not doing your job well, and it's just like, what? This is a loop here. Guys, why are you not seeing this? So it's so interesting to hear you say that, and I feel validated. Thank you very much.
You are not alone.
Thank you very much. So when it comes to online and technology, cybersecurity is something that is very popular, and it, in the sense of it's trending, we have people are very sort of not sure what everything means, because the biggest lie on the internet is I've read these terms and conditions, right? And what happens is you see all these ransomware attacks and stuff, and you don't truly understand what all of these things mean. So I want to start with Chris from a security perspective. A lot of people say, well, this online thing, everybody's going to take my information and take my customer's credit card and go with it, so this doesn't make sense. What would you say to that person, Chris?
No, no, it's not going to happen. So, I think, there is obviously a lot of, fraud that happens in all aspects of transactions, whether it's cash or cards or, physical stores or online. And, a lot of that is, around, sometimes people's inability to understand what they should do or shouldn't do. So, we talk about, when I, back in the day when we used to go to conferences, I would talk about things, like, social engineering and phishing and, credit card scammers and readers and, all the different techniques people use. And, you could go to YouTube, for example, and, they'll tell you how to, create a credit card number generator, for example, or, so there's Twitter accounts, and, as fast as they take them down, they come back up again. But, if you are using quality solutions to deliver your online experience and your online payments, then you are in very good hands. And I'll give you an example. So First Atlantic Commerce, we've been in the payment space for 22 plus years now. So we have a lot of collective experience with dealing with online payments and security around that. So we have to, as an organization, we have to go through a technical audit every year, which is called PCI compliance. So we have to be certified as what's PCI DSS Level 1 payment gateway provider, which basically means that we are the sort of top tier certification that you can get in our industry for accepting credit card payments online, because we deal with millions of transactions and card numbers, so we have to go through that. That is about a 3-month process to go through that. So we pay somebody basically to try and hack our systems, break our systems, find credit card data, review all our policies, and it's a lengthy process, and it is the most important thing that we do. The thought of somebody breaching our systems is what keeps all our leadership up at night. How can we do this better? How can we protect the data? And it's really about what we talk about is removing the gold from the vault rather than building higher walls. So for example, when we deal with our merchants and they want to create like a repeat purchase experience, or a recurring transaction experience. So repeat purchase, like, we talk about Amazon, the best example of that is, the one-click purchase or the pay with card on file, to create that seamless, emotive purchasing experience. Suddenly you bought an 80-inch TV that you didn't think you were going to buy that day because it was on sale and it was super easy to do it. You had to literally click one button and that was on its way to your house. And what enables that is something called tokenization, whereby we take the card data from the merchants and we encrypt it within our database. And then we send back a token, which is basically an alphanumeric value that you can store against that customer's profile. So you're taking all the credit card data out of the merchant environment and storing it within our certified environment. So if somebody hacked the merchant environment, all they're getting is a bunch of tokens which they can't do anything with. So again, that notion of, okay, we're taking the gold out of the vault. And with credit card, if you look at breaches in general within the credit card space, they tend to happen more at the brick and mortar level than the physical store level. If you look at all those major breaches that you've seen, it's some sort of malware that's been injected into a point of sale system or a credit card terminal, rather than card numbers being stolen online, for example. So, and then the complexity of the systems behind us, for example, like the payment processors and the Visa, MasterCard networks, the level of security, so we don't have the ability to connect directly into Visa, MasterCard. We have to go through what's called a processor. And that processor's level of security and compliance and PCI they have to go through is another fold on top of what we do. And then as Giuliana will know, all the complexities and security around the Visa, MasterCard systems is incredibly complex as well. So all that infrastructure, and all these transactions are passing through all of that security and infrastructure within milliseconds, which is quite incredible when you actually think about it. You make that purchase, that's coming back, that's going across multiple networks, potentially multiple countries, and you're getting a response on that and a guaranteed payment on that transaction within about a second. So there's a huge amount behind it.
Well, I'm happy to know that folks at First Atlantic Commerce are getting sleepless nights because of my privacy. I am happy. And also happy to know that the banks, when they see, irregular activity, will stop. And that has happened to me in the past, where you get that email saying, purchase done in Texas at some automotive company, and they're like, what? And the card eventually comes back to you in a couple of days. So, you have to weigh your options and know that the customer wants convenience first. And we're talking about, that privacy conversation. I really want to have a discussion that may borderline be ethical. There's a particular company in the health sector in Trinidad and Tobago that is basically spamming everybody, right? I've gotten text messages and emails that I never signed up for because I'm sure it's a great, solution, but I never signed up for it. I'm very upset by it because I'm sure it's great, but I'm already blinded by this, and I'm like, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say. So, Giuliana, I want you to give us some insights from a data perspective, because not everybody has the morality and nobody's here to preach to anybody. But from a business perspective, why is it best for you to obtain the data in a channel that the customer has chosen to do so?
Because it's their right. For us, I think it's as basic as, data and the right of privacy and the empowerment to decide what to do with your information. It's one individual right of a person, of a company, and so on. So I feel that, although it sounds like, basic and too nice preach, I think that actually should be an invitation for all marketeers, all business leaders, and all companies to always think and always put on the table for discussion. Because, and I think Chris mentioned the security aspect as well, right? I think I would bring both together. In this digital world where digital first is the only way to go, where MarTech is technology is the silver lining of helping us to better serve customers, to better generate demand, to better get results. The question goes back to the board of the big company, or even, the small business, to sit and think, what is right to do when you think about data and customer engagement. And I would say there are two things that you should never take out of the table when you're discussing with any partner and any provider. And I love the class that we got here on everything relates to security in the ecosystem from FAC. But it is how I ensure that I'm respecting privacy and I'm being ethical on the data handling. And second, how I am ensuring that I'm doing everything that I can to be able to have a good and comprehensive security approach to the way that I'm operating, right? And to your question, Pauline, why? Because at the end of the day, this is where the reputation of your business is going to rely upon too, right? I think you just shared an example on, what about being spammed over and over and over on communications and messages and marketing activities that I do not read. But more than that, for sure, I am starting to block and to take out of my portfolio of companies that will be looking for information. We say that those are the right discussions and as well the most time demanding, because usually it brings to the table when you're thinking about a marketing initiative, a new product or a new channel that you are launching, an event that you're doing. You are asking, okay, do I have the right and the the approval of the person to get their information? Am I giving enough clarity on what I'm going to be using the information for? Am I sure that I'm not going to be sharing this with anyone? Am I giving them the control and the empowerment to be able to unsubscribe or to say, I do not want to get this information anymore at any moment? And am I really securing this data in a very secure environment? So those usually are the hard questions, because they slow down things. They make you think over and over the process throughout time. But those are the right questions to make early on and throughout the process. And I think for the audience here is more than, thinking about, but I'm not an expert on that. I'm not, I don't have the skills, or I'm not the subject matter expertise within my team about security and privacy, is engage with others. Ask your partners, ask your providers about their privacy, data management, and security solutions. That's super important.
Yeah, so Tamara mentioned GDPR, which is European Union take on the legality of getting people's data. Unfortunately, there's a lot in the Caribbean that still needs to be worked out from a legal perspective and public sector discussions. And we're going to shift the topic a bit to data is the new currency, right? So we hear this a lot, and it's like, what does that even mean? Does that mean cryptocurrency? Does that mean Bitcoin? Because a lot of terms are going around. So I want to do a round robin on the conversation, and I'm going to start with something that we do on LinkedIn Local Caribbean, which is a free volunteer session that we do, monthly events, and focusing on people across the Caribbean in different spaces. Now, what happens is, because everything was opt-in from the audience, we send one email and get 40 people to show up. What does that mean? Obviously, that means that we have less time and less effort needed to drive that 40 person into an event that everybody not just showed up, but stayed to the last until we say, okay, guys, we're leaving now. So in terms of workload and effort and stuff, that was important for us to build. For Chris, what does data is a new currency mean to you in the e-commerce space?
Yeah, so I was just reading a little bit on this yesterday, actually, in terms of when you go onto a website and they say, we use cookies, do you accept? And most people just they don't appreciate what that is. I say, yes, I just want to read whatever it is I want to read on this website. So basically, when you click yes, you're giving up your data, right? So that's how I happen to look at something, and now it's in my Facebook feed, it's in my Instagram feed, it's on every website I go to that has advertising on it, and suddenly you just can't get away from it, right? And that's when you that innocuous yes has just given up a whole bunch of your data rights effectively. And it's back to the whole sort of things like Apple terms and conditions. Like, nobody reads them, right? Nobody reads them. They just click yes. They want to go back onto iTunes or whatever it is. So I think there's a mix there between my data is important to me, and then people not necessarily doing the work to realize how or why they're giving up their data. There's a whole range of people. There's people that, look, I don't care if you read my emails, I'm not doing anything wrong, through to, I have friends that are in the tech business that will not have any voice activated products in their house. So, they're listening to everything we're doing, and I'm just not going to have it. And they're in the tech space. So, they're developers. They understand that, they use technology. Technology provides their living for them. But now you're starting to see companies come up as well that are, talking about, permission-based use of data. So whereby, you can, give specific permission to companies to have your data in return for something, whether that's cash or vouchers or product or discounts. And I think that's really interesting, because suddenly you have much more control over your data, and you can monetize your data yourself, rather than businesses monetizing your data for you. And I think that is got a lot of legs and a lot of interest in it. And it will be interesting to see how the bigger companies like Google will deal with that. Do they try and squash it? Because this is, YouTube. I think I read the other day that they purchased it for $1.6 billion, and they now generate from ads $1.6 billion every 4 days. It's a huge industry. And there are people trying to fight for individual rights for it. We mentioned GDPR earlier, where, countries are trying to protect individuals' data on a global basis. Even though that's a European directive, it has a global impact. If you're receiving data from European Union, residents, and you're not protecting that data properly under GDPR, you're at risk. You could be fined for that. Even though you have nothing to do, your business is not incorporated anywhere near the EU. So there's a lot to consider there.
Yeah, that's some great points, and with this idea of having that digital footprint, you can't just think about it from a regional perspective. You have access to a global audience. So, Giuliana, can you share with us what data is a currency mean to you from a marketing space?
Yes, it's a great question. I think that data helps me to see customers in a much more holistic way. And I usually say that when I can do that, that means that I can see them on a much more honest way. So let me give an example. Imagine that for a marketeer, a lot of the struggle for us is to know if someone gives me $100 today, where do I invest, right? Where is better for me to, it's on an event, it's on a little emailing activity, it's on an online webinar, it's on a sponsorship and so on. And one of the challenges that we have had in the past is that we were able to see data per different kind of executions, but not on a holistic way from the customer. Now, on this digital first modern marketing approach, I can see the customer on a more holistic way. So I can see, for example, that one customer that became, let's say, one of the most valuable leads for me, he actually first started searching on my website, then he went to a webinar, then maybe he talked to a partner, then he stopped and he changed completely the subject and went, on a different kind of content from a different topic related to security, for example. And then I'm not much more concerned about understanding attribution per activity, but I'm starting to understand the value of the holistic approach of the customer. And that it's a huge benefit, because then now it's not about us investing, or to prove this activity generates the most impact versus that one, but it's to say, wow, what is the combination of things that when I put together better serve to acquire, to nurture, or to really help me convert a customer in a much more compelling way. And the second thing is that for us as well, it helps a lot in terms of contactability. The more relevant you are in the kind of activities or marketing content that you offer, people say yes, that they want to know more, that they want to engage more. And this contactability, okay-ish, it's super valuable. But sometimes you can showcase an audience that you were never seen before, and that became so relevant. So let me give a very simple example. We talk a lot with the IT audience. During the pandemic, HR leads become more relevant than ever when we talk about remote working, collaboration, how to keep the organizations engaging. And I didn't go after them. They start connecting with us through materials and saying, I want to know more and more. And then we create a specific marketing activity for them. So for me, the currency is because it stops being a discussion on marketing activity effectiveness and becomes data really showing the holistic approach and the value on what works on a customer.
Wow, I think that's a really good way for us to end this session today. We do have some call to actions that we're going to put in the comments as it relates to upskilling yourself, because now is the time more than ever, even if you are a entrepreneur or someone in the marketing space. I think Microsoft definitely has some opportunities from an artificial perspective, artificial intelligence, but that's a whole other that's another session altogether that we may have to beg Giuliana to join us again to see if we can have that discussion, because I think there's a misconception on what AI is, and that's something that marketing is not even where it's heading, it's where it is. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this session. And guys, thank you so much for another great episode of FAC Live. And mask up and put on those oh gosh, what you call it? It's not hand sanitizers, because guys, we're trying to go on the other side of what normal is. I don't know what that is, but we're gonna get there. Join us on May 11th. Make sure to follow the First Atlantic Commerce LinkedIn page. If you're not there, you know friends who may be interested, you could head over to Facebook, and we have a page there as well. Our next session is for those in the entrepreneur space, where we're talking about raising capital and entrepreneurship in the Caribbean. We have a gentleman, David Mullings, that he's been featured on Bloomsburg, and he's a person that I have a lot of questions about, because navigating raising capital in the Caribbean is very difficult, and I think is something that you may be interested in. So I hope you can join me there, and I'll see you on the next episode of FSC Live.